God didn't show me a blessing coming for you. He showed me something far more disturbing. There are spiritual assassins moving in silence around your life right now, and what they're targeting isn't what you think. Because the real attack isn't against your money, your career, or even your relationships. It's against something much more valuable. And before this message ends, you'll understand why the enemy has been watching you for longer than you realize. A few nights ago, during a time of prayer, something unusual happened. A picture appeared in my spirit. At first, it looked ordinary, but the longer I looked, the more unsettling it became. I saw people smiling, talking, moving through everyday life. Nothing seemed wrong, until I noticed what was hiding behind them. Something was following them, not physically, spiritually, and this is where things started getting strange, because these dark forces weren't attacking everyone. They were moving past some people completely, but others, they were being watched relentlessly. Why? What made them different? The answer revealed something shocking. The spiritual assassins weren't looking for weak people. They weren't chasing people who had already given up. They were hunting people carrying purpose, people standing close to a breakthrough, people who had something heaven intended to use. Think about that. Have you noticed unusual resistance lately? Doors closing unexpectedly, constant distractions, confusion appearing out of nowhere. Maybe you've blamed bad luck. Maybe you've blamed circumstances. But what if there's another reason? Because what happened next exposed a pattern I couldn't ignore. The closer someone moved toward their calling, the more aggressive the attacks became. Not always dramatic, not always obvious. Sometimes the attack arrived disguised as exhaustion. Sometimes it appeared as doubt. Sometimes it wore the face of someone they trusted, and that's only the beginning. Then the vision shifted, and what I saw changed everything. These spiritual assassins weren't operating randomly. They had assignments, specific targets, specific strategies, specific timing. But here's the shocking part. Most victims never recognize the attack because the enemy rarely announces his presence. Instead, he whispers, a small thought, a tiny fear, a single compromise. Nothing that seems dangerous at first, but over time those small moments become chains, and many people never realize they're trapped until years have passed. Yet one detail stood out above all the others. One group of people kept escaping. Why? What protected them? The answer wasn't what I expected. I assumed they were stronger, more disciplined, more experienced. I was wrong. What separated them was awareness. They recognized the battle. While others focused only on the physical world, they understood there was another war happening behind the scenes. And because they recognized it, they responded differently. When confusion appeared, they didn't surrender. When fear arrived, they didn't agree with it. When distractions multiplied, they became even more focused. But that's not the most powerful revelation, because there was one final thing the spiritual assassins feared more than anything else. And when I saw it, everything made sense. The enemy wasn't afraid of talent. He wasn't afraid of intelligence. He wasn't afraid of influence. He was afraid of identity. The moment a person fully understood who God created them to be, the attacks began losing power. Because deception only works when confusion exists. Fear only grows when purpose is forgotten. Darkness only advances when truth is abandoned. And suddenly I understood why these spiritual assassins work so hard to create distraction. Because if they can keep you distracted, they can keep you unaware. And if they keep you unaware, they can keep you from stepping into what God prepared for you. That's the real target, not your possessions, not your position, your purpose. So if you've felt resistance lately, if you've experienced battles that don't make sense, If you've wondered why the pressure seems heavier than before, maybe it's because you're closer than you think. The vision ended with one final warning. The spiritual assassins are real, but they are not unstoppable. Their greatest weapon is secrecy. Their greatest advantage is ignorance. And the moment you recognize the battle, their power begins to break. Because the enemy never wastes resources attacking someone who isn't a threat. So ask yourself one question. What if the resistance you've been facing isn't proof that you're failing? What if it's proof that you're carrying something the kingdom of darkness is terrified you'll discover? Subscribe, my child.